Well, Larry, welcome. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us and inviting us into your office here today. How are you?
I'm doing good, Bill. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
So exciting for me. I want to make sure that the viewers understand that we have connected before, and our relationship is kind of evolving as the viewer is watching this, right? But I am a fan. I'm a big fan, and that will become abundantly clear very quickly. To properly introduce you, you are the co-founder and chairman of the group in Colorado, a real estate company that's about 40 years old.
We celebrated 40 years last year. Absolutely.
I mean, really phenomenal. And so here's what I need people to understand. You are also now the author of Ninja Selling, and this is a book that I just cannot strongly enough recommend. So I'm just going to say that right out of the blocks. Like at this moment, if you don't own this book, you need to go to Amazon or ninjaselling.com and order at least 5 copies. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to own at least 5 copies. Because what will happen is you're going to do what I did. You're going to order one. One was gifted to me. And then I ended up ordering more, and I send them off to friends. And, you know, if you're in the business, get a case, right? That's what I would do.
Bill, thank you.
This is not, I'm not commissioned. I'm not doing it because you're going to benefit. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it because they'll benefit. I've been in this business since 83, and this didn't exist. I guess that's what I'm saying. This didn't exist. What existed was you have to endure the no's to get to the yes, right? You gotta pound through just, plates and plates of rejection pie before you finally win, and you're wrestling. And if they say this, you say that, and here's the closing technique, and holy cow! I mean, it can be so much easier. So with all that said, if we're going to sort of paint the broad picture of Ninja Selling, what I would love to do, I guess, really is just start with the imagery. Can you talk to us a little bit about the idea of the butterfly and the stacked river rocks?
Sure, you bet. The cover is symbolic. The river rocks, the balanced stones represent what we call a cairn, which is balanced rocks. If you climb in the high mountains, I live in Colorado. If you climb up above timberline, you're on the rock. It becomes difficult to find the trail, and so we pile rocks to show the path or the way. And the idea of this book is to show you the path or the way to improve your business, to improve your life, and that's the symbolism of the rocks. The butterfly represents transformation from the caterpillar into the butterfly, which if you follow this path or this way, this system that we've outlined for you, it'll transform your business and hopefully transform your life as well.
Yeah, I believe that to be true. And you've watched it, of course. And I should point out that I think it's mentioned in the book, but your trainings are referred to as installations. So, when I first heard that, I think of somebody becoming a board president at an installation dinner, but that's not what you mean. So tell us what an installation means in your world.
The name installation, we say we don't teach Ninja, we install it. How many of us have been to workshops where they're just fantastic? We walk out of there with a notebook full of great ideas, but then when we next get with the customer, we're kind of revert or default to the old way that we've always done it. And so how do you really modify behavior? That's what we do. Our 4-day course is basically a form of behavior modification. You live for 4 days like a ninja. So we teach you the habits, the daily routines, the dialogues, the questions to ask, the system. And what we find is when you come out of that course, you're changed. And it's like we've installed software. We installed the Ninja chip, And we've gotten great results. We like to say we don't. Our product is not training. Our product is results. Salespeople have spent a lot of money over the years on training. What they really want is results. And so that's the idea of it. And then what we're hearing now from ninjas who've read the book is that they're able to install those same systems in their business and get the same results. In fact, we have a saying, Bill, TSW. I don't know if you remember that from the book, but TSW, the stuff works, or the system works. That's a mantra within ninjas. So.
I love that, and my hunger is for the viewer to sort of benefit from my conviction around this, and so I told you recently I was speaking to a group of realtors in Denver. And I think about a third of the room were ninjas. Now, the thing that you need to understand in my world is this was all new to me. And I'm thinking, so we got a cult going here? Like,
what's a ninja?
What is it? And like, when do the black robes come out? When do they start throwing the stars and, swords? And so when I learned more about it, it was before I had the book. And I spoke to some of the ninjas afterwards. It was so cool to speak to people who had been through this training, who truly had that sense of peace. Of part of what you teach is that sort of pull versus push philosophy. Right?
Yeah, right. Ninja selling is very subtle, very soft, very non-combative. It's selling without appearing to be selling. Kind of the old school that you mentioned earlier, Bill, and I was brought up selling in that school, which is 10 no's to have your first yes, ABC, always be closing. Ninja Selling's approach is to never put your customer in the position of feeling pressure, because when they feel pressure, the wall goes up. Some of them will push back. You could end up being rejected. So it's very soft. It's really solutions oriented, and it's really designed to ask the right questions, identify what the customer, what they're trying to accomplish, what is their pain, what is their pleasure, and provide a solution. So we always say the first thing we have to do in Ninja is to teach you to stop selling. What we mean by that is stop selling in the traditional way, and instead start solving.
Well, I told you when I first was reading the book, I literally could feel my heart rate go up. Like I was getting so excited about, oh my goodness, this is all the stuff that I believe, and I've had bits and pieces here and there, and this over here in a folder, and over here in a drawer, and I've got this on this computer, and you know what I mean? I think I've aggregated nearly everything that's in here at some point or something similar over the years. But when I saw what I would view really as, I think your publicist referred to it as the Bible, right? If you're out preaching the word in your installations, that's what you didn't have. You didn't have the Bible. Now you have the Bible, so somebody can go back to it. And right. So that's where I get excited. And I'm gonna go a little old school here for a moment and just show people, the table of contents here, to whatever degree you can see that. Divided up into principle 1, personal mastery. Principle number 2, stop selling and start solving, what you just said. Principle number 3, the ninja business strategy. And then principle number 4, connect and communicate. I love the arrangement of that, and however you got there over 22 years of teaching this. Is that right?
Yeah, 23 now, and 44 years in real estate. So.
I mean, I picture you around a huge table, fire burning, because you're in Colorado, of course. You've got coffee or hot chocolate, and you've got all these notebooks and file folders. And, at some point, and probably a bulletin board and 3x5 cards, at some point you had to figure out how to aggregate and organize this to create a logical flow, a word we'll come back to in a minute, a logical flow to the structure of the book, right?
Well, Bill, when I first started, I didn't have any training, so I went off to a sales training course, and I was taught what I call now Depression-era selling techniques, the old school. And I realized that wasn't going to work for me, and I had to come up with a different way. And I began to experiment, and it's funny you talk about these notebooks. I literally had notebooks, how to work with sellers, how to work with buyers, how to negotiate, how to generate business. And then over time, I began to assemble those notebooks into a coherent system of selling, and it began to work for me, and I began to teach that in our company. And in 1991, our company received an award for being the most productive real estate company in America in terms of transactions per agent by RealTrends. And we've been one of the top 2 or 3 in the nation every year since, for a quarter of a century. And that's really what led to ninja selling, because people began to ask us, how do you get that level of productivity? And I said, well, we can show you. And so I started teaching the class, ninja selling, and then finally have been able to put the book together.
So that is so good. And that's such a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I told you when we first met, it was 83 when I got my first gold jacket. I had gone to work for the very first region for Century 21 here in Southern California, owned by Bud Cashin and John Gherkin back in the day. They had bought that region from Art Bartlett and Marsh Fisher, the founders of Century 21. Remax had just maybe come online, or maybe a few years after. Keller Williams wasn't even an idea, right? And we were the big dog. Like Century 21 absolutely had the most market share at the time. And it was all sort of designed around this idea of, if you recruit enough bodies and train them the basics, a certain percentage will sort of catch and a certain percentage will wash out, but that's the game, right? And so that's what we were doing. Well, I remember being at a conference at some point within our company, and somebody said, so there's this organization called The Group in Colorado, and they do this like massive production. It's amazing. And so I pictured, a mountaintop with guys with long white beards and white robes all sitting around that had completely mastered it. So I had heard of you years and years ago. I mean, years ago, truly. And then I thought, well, it couldn't possibly be the same organization. This was so many years ago. Totally is. Now, I'm assuming that the structure of your organization is a little like a law firm at The Group. Is that a fair description?
Well, we're called The Group because all of us that work here own it. We started with 12 of us back in 1976, and now we have about 210 of us in 6 offices in northern Colorado. But we call ourselves partners, so we're all owners of this company.
Well, so as a coach, that's what I do. I coach and I speak, and those are the things that fill my calendar. And so when I run across something like this that came from that mountaintop experience, proven by real trends based on your per person productivity, to me that's golden, right? That's like, I think I may have mentioned to you, I'm writing a book right now called White Collar Warrior Lessons for Sales Professionals from America's Military Elite. And so I'm interviewing Navy SEALs and Army Rangers. And when I'm listening to them, when I get their take on fear or mission planning or training, man, I listen like I'm leaning in. I'm taking notes. I want to know what you're telling me, right? Larry, I feel that same way about this book. So with that said, let's jump in a little bit. So the very first thing, chapter 1, is the ninja mindset. And while I think you've touched on it, if you were just going to tie a bow on that a little bit for our viewers, how would you describe the mindset?
Well, we say there's 3 real key areas that you need to master in your business and your life. One is your mindset. The second is your skill set. And then third is the actions you take on a daily basis, your habits, your routines, if you will. Mm-hmm. And on the mindset, all 3 of those are important, but the mindset is the most important because it will override the other 2. We can teach you the skills. You can put those skills into action. But if you bring the wrong energy or the wrong attitude to it, it will override that. So an example of mindset, we say that, and actually psychologists tell us, at any given point in time, a human being has a mindset of either a player or a victim. And the victim mindset, nobody wants to work with a victim. Nobody wants to be around that negative energy. And we pick it up, that energy, from each other in what we call a vibe. You can feel the vibe when you're with a customer. They can feel your vibe. How important do you think that vibe is in sales or in trust?
Oh, yeah.
And they want to be with people who have a positive vibe. And so that all comes from what you're thinking, what you're feeling. It comes from your mindset. So getting your mindset straight is critical. And the first part of the book teaches how to do that, how to develop some daily routines on your mindset, one of which is to start each day with your gratitudes.
With what?
With your gratitudes. With giving thanks, it will put you immediately in a very positive mindset. It's one of the kind of the basic, easy routines to do each day. Before you even get out of bed, just give thanks go through your gratitudes. It'll help. By the time your feet hit the floor, you'll be in a positive energy state.
I love that more than you know. For viewers who are following me on Facebook and we're friends there, you would know that I just bought the 5-minute journal, which is all built around gratitude. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, I am.
Right? It's a matter of just quick answers to questions, a quick affirmation, what would make this day excellent, and then at the end of the day, a recap, right, of what do I celebrate, what was fantastic. I've been around this game for a long time. For me, this little simple 5-minute exercise, Larry, it's the first time I've ever done it. I just have to be honest with you. Oh, I've never done it in my life. And I sort of live in gratitude. Maybe that's the reason I've never done it, is I'm enormous.
Didn't have to. It was natural for you.
Well, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. I've been through a heart attack. I have a stent. Every day's a gift, right? So I live in gratitude. But I love your observation about that and your kind of foundational weight that you give that in terms of how you begin and end your days.
Bill, if I could say one more thing about not just about gratitudes, but in our book, we always try to back up everything we do with the science behind it. And Dr. Robert Emmons, who's a professor at the University of California at Davis, has done an amazing amount of research on gratitudes and the power of that. So a lot of times when you say something like this, our folks on this call, they might think, well, that's just positive mental attitude stuff. We've heard that, Well, there's some science behind it. And there's a science behind gratitude. There's a science behind mindset. There's a science behind flow. And one of the things we try to do is document the science behind everything that we teach in the Ninja Cell.
I see that in the book, and I appreciate that more than you know. We have found that as a coaching organization. We do a lot of work now with Dr. Henry Cloud that you may know. And Dr. Cloud has brought to us the neuroscience behind the philosophy that we've taken to coaching. And, our coaching, you know this because I know you've been to the website and we've talked a bit about it, but, we view it as a holistic approach to coaching. So it's your life plan combined with your business plan, and those really are integrated. The days of, you and I are going to be the only ones that remember this, but the days of Father Knows Best, right, where he would come home and set down his briefcase and go hug Princess, and his wife had the apron on in the kitchen. You don't turn off business anymore. It's coming at us 24/7 at a variety of different channels. Not that you should allow it, but it will try to. So let me ask you a question, because this one was intriguing to me. You make a distinction between rituals and routine. So when we think of the morning, for example, as we just touched on with gratitude, can you talk to me a little bit about the distinction between a ritual and a routine in your mind?
You bet. And some of this comes, Bill, from sports science. Dr. James Lear, who's a famous sports psychologist, has written many books. Used to live in Colorado. I studied with him. I took every class I could with the gentleman. He's a genius. This is where I learned the difference between a ritual and a routine. A routine is what we do on a daily basis. It's our daily habits. It's what time we usually get up, how we get around in the morning, what do we do first each day. It's the routine through the day, what we eat, etc. Ritual is what we do right before it's time to perform. So right before we're meeting with a client, what do we do in what we call our pregame ritual? Or sometimes you'll see it in a golfer in their pre-shot ritual. Or Dr. Lear coached a lot of tennis players. And it's what do you get ready? What do you do in the few seconds or the few minutes before it's showtime to get your energy right, to get focused, and to really get ready? And so we teach both rituals and routines in the books.
I had never heard that distinction before, and I so appreciate that. Thank you. Ford. Now, here's what's funny to me about Ford. I probably first heard this when you did. I don't know, maybe 25 years ago or so. And so I always feel like I feel like as a coach, I sit down at my desk, and I'm at my desk. That's where I am right now. And I have all my books behind me. That's not just a poster. Those are actual books that I've read.
You've actually read them.
I've read them, yeah.
Which is good.
I feel like I have a quiver on my back like an archer, and I pull these arrows out, right, at various times in coaching sessions. And when I pull out the Four Darrow, people in their 30s are like, wow, that's really clever. Like, give me that again. It's been around for a while. It's just that you haven't really done anything with it. But I love the way that you lay it out in the book. And for viewers right now that maybe are not familiar with Ford, would you mind just giving us a quick flyby of, first of all, why is it important? And then how do you deploy it?
Sure. Well, FORD, Ford, the F stands for family and friends. The O stands for occupation. R stands for recreation. And D stands for dreams. And dreams would be defined as anything in the future. And these 4 areas are really easy to build a connection and rapport and start a conversation. I mean, people love to talk about their family. You ask them, how's business? What are you doing for fun? What are your plans for the weekend? Those are just right there, 4 examples of Ford. Where the mastery comes in is in the listening skills, because while these 4 areas are very easy to build rapport, they're also, for most people, the 4 core areas of their life. Is there anything more important to anybody than their family, their career, what brings them joy, their hopes and their dreams? And so really, when you're asking these questions, if you listen carefully, you're drilling right down into their core, into the 4 core most important areas of their life. And what we know is if there's some sort of change going on in any of these 4 areas, it's probably going to affect their real estate. And so that's what we teach. It's funny, I had a gentleman call me from Texas, and he said, I've heard about Ninja. And I said, what have you heard? He says, I heard you're masters of chit chat. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean we're masters of chit chat? He says, well, I've heard about the Ford. I think that's great. I love that. And I said, well, yeah, that's the start, but it goes deeper. And if you're really a good listener and can pick up the subtle pain and pleasure within each of those 4 areas, that's where the opportunity lies.
Absolutely. So you, again, the beauty of every time I talk to you, you take something I'm aware of and give me another dimension. It's like I've had these cool colored squares, but now you're showing me that they're actually Rubik's cubes, and there's other things that are happening there, and that's what's so exciting to me, Larry, about Ninja. Really and truly, I mean that with all my heart. Just that application of Ford. I've never seen it to the depth of the application that you described, that if that helps me to uncover something where there's an opportunity, now through the proper questions, I can find out if there is there an opportunity here, right? So,
right.
I can't, because of our time constraints, I can't really do justice to the entire book. But as you know, one of the things that I just absolutely resonated with was this idea of flow. And it's because as a coach, I see it all the time. And even before I was coaching, I've only been coaching 14 years, but in the 20 years before that, when I was selling and managing people, in real estate, it was always this roller coaster ride of market. Whoa, I'm busy. I got to close these transactions. Oh, I got to market. And it was just ongoing. And so then we began to see some marketing solutions come along where they could sort of standardize some of your marketing. But even that sort of ebbs and flows, right? Whether it's Hobbs-Herder marketing or if it's an email strategy or drip campaigns or whatever it might be. And all of which are great, by the way. I'm not judging any of that. But what I think you did for the first time for me was to help me to see that's really just an ongoing commitment that happens despite my efforts. It's happening in spite of me. And that keeps my business flowing. So I've done a poor job of it, but would you mind describing flow as the founder of this philosophy, as the mind behind it?
Absolutely, Bill. The whole purpose behind flow is built around the idea of how do customers make a decision on who to work with, whether it's the real estate agent or whether it's the loan officer. And what we know is that customers know, the public knows, well, with realtors, the science is they know 12 realtors. So how do they choose a realtor? And what the science shows is it's not based upon who they last did that transaction with 7 or 8 years ago. It's who they were in, quote, flow with most recently. And flow is frequency of interaction. So face-to-face, on the phone, through the mail, through the social media, all forms of interaction, those are flow. And so if you want to build a business and you want to build relationships and you want to build especially a referral-based business, amp up your flow. And so there's really two types of flow. There's what we call live flow, which is face-to-face, voice-to-voice, which is the best. And then you want to augment that with what we call auto flow. And these are mailings, emailings, social media. And we actually teach an entire flow system. And if you follow that, you will become the realtor of choice, the loan officer of choice. You'll become top of the mind in your customer's mind. And that's really the purpose of flow, is for you to position yourself as the realtor of choice, their trusted real estate advisor.
It is so logical. And, I think I told you before, the closest I had ever seen anyone come to describing that was when Gary Keller talked about 33 Touch in the Red Book 10 years ago or whatever. And it was good. It was a good description of a combination of phone calls, face-to-face, Mother's Day cards, Father's Day cards, emails. And I've described it this way. I don't know if this is entirely accurate, but I said, if you interview a number of top producers and you take their marketing plan and throw it in a blender with some juice, that's pretty much what you're going to get, right? It could be 24 touches. It could be 52. I don't know what the number is, but that was the first that I had heard of that. And so I have often used that as an example. But to me, flow is more, again, foundational than that. And I know we're only touching on it today, but it is laid out in the book. And obviously, if somebody is interested, they can go to the site, they can get the book, and they can certainly look into an installation near them. I just saw an email go by today. Who was it? Was it NAR? Does NAR have your events lined up in their annual calendar? Because I think I saw that today in an email.
Oh, really? Well, that's good.
Yeah. But I'm assuming as we get to the end of our time together, as much as I wish we had about 5 times this much time, if people want to know more, is ninjaselling.com the best place that you would send them, or what would you tell them to do?
Yeah, I think that's the best. They can go to ninjaselling.com. They can order the book there. They can also, we have a complete website full of materials and online learning and a lot of free stuff for them that will help them in their careers. So yeah, that would be the place.
Well, so I just want to sign off with a call to action, right? And my call to action is, if you're watching this right now, you must own this book. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I have a lot of books here, and I've enjoyed every one of them. There's a variety of different books there around sales and building your business. But if there was one that in any sales endeavor, by the way, not just real estate. I mean, we're talking to realtors right now, but I could see this absolutely apply to the mortgage industry, to somebody in pharmaceutical sales, insurance. The applications are universal. So while you cut your teeth, as did I, in the real estate industry, the application is universal. So make sure that you get a copy. And Larry, I'm just so excited for you. I love that the book is out, because now that message is going to be so much further and wider than it has been. And I know that must be exciting to you, because truth shared is potential truth applied, and lives can be impacted. And we as an industry can better serve the public in the process.
Well, I appreciate that, Bill. And thank you for inviting me to be on the program. A comment just came up for me. All those books that you have in your library, I have the same. Many of them are sales books. I read a lot of sales books over the years. And what I wanted to do is to help create a sales system that, number one, would never put you in a position of being rejected, never put your customer in the position of feeling pressure, but also would be very effective for any personality type. And so I think that's one of the unique things about Ninja Selling. And I just appreciate you taking the time to read the book and then to so heavily endorse it. So thanks a lot to us, Bill. Thank you.
Fire about it. I mean, there's no doubt I am on fire about it. So thanks so much for making the time, Larry. And I just encourage everybody who's viewing right now to jump into the book and email me, bill@buildingchampions.com. I'd love to hear from you as you get into the book and you begin to see some things happening. let me know what you're running into, and it will help me to know that I've done the right thing here, and I know that I have, but I'd love to hear from you. Larry, thanks for making the time, and stay warm there in Colorado.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Pleasure.